Hello everyone, welcome to another video, and in this video I'm going to show you the exact goals that I'm working towards in my investing journey and the exact system that I'm following to achieve those goals. And I'll break down my portfolio so that you can see how this system actually lives up for me to be able to build this kind of portfolio. Now, the very important concepts that I've mentioned in this video introduction is systems and goals. Now, once you've set a goal, all you need is a system to achieve the success that you desire. Now, this is true for investing, but this is also true, let's say, for health and fitness. It is also true for business. It's also true for relationships. You need to visualize the end goal. And once you've done that, you've documented your goal, then you just need to follow the system. Then you don't have to waste too much time and energy just rethinking too much about your goals. Just put a system in place that will allow you to achieve your goals. And I've made a Google Sheet which has both components. So I have my goal and my system, and I'm actually going to give away this Google Sheet in this video, so there'll be a link where you can find this Google Sheet. But let me explain it first so that you can understand how I use this goal and system. Now, it's very important to understand that the goal is only an idea, right? And you have to understand your own lifestyle requirements on calculating what your goals should be, because a lot of people often ask me, what goal is a good goal to retire? Like, how much money do they need to retire, or how much money do they need to do XYZ? It's a very personal question. So the goal is on you. I cannot decide your goal, but there is a system that you can follow to achieve those goals. Now, this is my particular system and it could change over time. The goals can also change over time, but for my current goals, this is the system that I'm using to approach the goals, right? So what is the goal, right? So the goal is an amount that you have in mind, that this is the amount that I want to achieve. And the system is your consistent investing discipline that allows you to reach that goal. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So for example, if you have a certain health goal or physical goal, you might have systems which are habits of going to the gym, of doing cardio, of maybe doing intermittent fasting, or eating a certain amount of protein a day. That's the system that you've put in place so that you will be able to get to that goal, because you need the system or the habits to be able to achieve that goal, right? So what you see in my videos or when I show you my portfolio is just the end result of the goal setting and the system setting. So the goal is in place, the system is in place, and now I'm just following the way of life, just moving with the flow and doing all of the steps in my system so that those goals can be achieved as I continue to follow the system, right? So that's clear. Let's look at the portfolio so that we are able to understand how something that actually looks as complicated as this can be just made with simple systems, right? And the system is as simple as this. Like, this is the only sheet that I use to make any investment decisions. Now, this might change over time, like it might change once in 6 months or once in 1 year. But overall, when I'm investing either a monthly SIP or a lump sum, I'm only following this calculator. Okay, so this is how it looks right now. In terms of the overall portfolio, we have 2.45, which is the amount that I've put in, and 3.29, which is the total current value of my portfolio. So the market has given me back 83.51 lakh rupees at a 23.11% XIRR, right? Out of this, 84 lakhs have been invested in mutual funds, 1.6 crores, 1.06, excuse me, from mutual funds. And my other holdings are on Kite, a lot of ETFs, as you know, where I've invested, I've got 38.2%, which is around 61.61 lakhs back from the market. Now, these numbers or returns are honestly not very important because they will just keep changing from time to time. Sometimes the market will go up, sometimes the market will go down. Overall, I'm not doing anything extraordinary. I think this is very important to understand. When you watch videos about personal finance or investing, it's not the person who has the highest returns who you should be listening to. It's just people who are sharing transparently how they invest that you should be listening to. And the reason why I say that is because it's very easy to show high returns, but it's very hard to consistently, transparently show all the boring things that you do, because a lot of my holdings are quite boring, and I know alternatives that could be more exciting, that could get better returns, but I still stick to the boring methodology because I want to be able to stick to for a long period of time. I have no interest in beating the market. I just have interest in growing my portfolio for a very long period of time and passing on to the next generations, right? So the goals are very different. Also, another note of caution is when you watch these videos, you also have to ask yourself how the money was made, because someone who has a huge portfolio may not have made their money by doing anything in the market. So all of this 2.45 crores have been made outside the market. They've been made by my business. So don't think of this as a way to make money. I think it's a good way to grow money, to preserve money, and to pass on money to different generations. And the compounding is really magical when it comes to the market, but it's no magic wand to make money. That's my opinion. I'm sure swing traders and day traders would disagree with me, and that's completely fine. It's just not the way that I would make my money. The way I make my money is by delivering services. I have a services business and I do consulting. I'm a growth marketeer, so I work with a lot of startups and businesses, helping them grow their businesses. I've just found a consistent system, like I said, to invest my money for growth, right? So if you want to become wealthy or if you want to become rich, there are only 3 systems you need. You need, number 1, a system to make money. Number 2, a system to grow your money by investing. And finally, number 3, a system to use the money without actually having to sell your investments, which is what we'll cover in one of the future videos. So let's look at the portfolio first, and then we will go into the goal and the system. And I'll show you the calculations. I'll also share this calculator with you at the end of this video. So let's get started. First of all, I've just shown my entire portfolio here so you can see what exactly I'm investing in. Let's look at like the top 9-10 holdings. Okay, so we have the top holding, which is the mid-cap 150. This is an index ETF for the mid-cap companies. Now think of all of the companies in India. Your top 50 companies is your Nifty Bs. This is the index of the top 50 companies. Then your next 50 companies is your Nifty Next 50. This is the index of the next 50 companies. And then you have the mid-cap 150. So we've covered the first 50 plus 50 plus 150. So the first 250 companies, and we've invested more than 1 crore rupees. So almost 1 crore rupees have been invested here. And these are the returns from these companies. So these are just the safest investments that you can think of. It's mostly just large cap and mid cap companies of India. Now, there's nothing creative here. There's nothing fancy here. I've just consistently invested my money in these indices via the ETF route. Now, you could also invest in these through index funds, and that's completely fine. I use ETFs. That's just my choice. Okay. Then I have a small cap fund. This is an actively managed mutual fund. I do not invest in small cap ETF or index fund. Instead, for small cap, I actually prefer actively managed funds. I also invest in Nippon India Small Cap Fund. That's the other fund that I've recently started investing in. So the next is NASDAQ 100. This is for geographical diversification. However, I also have a Singapore company that keeps my money in the index in the US. So outside of this India portfolio, my Singapore company also holds equity in the US. It's just a side note so that you know that this is not the only exposure that I have to the US market. The next is a mid-cap actively managed fund. So for mid-cap, I actually explore both the index as well as actively managed mutual funds. I actually have 2 of those. I have PGM India Mid-Cap Fund and Kotak Emerging Equity Fund. This is also a mid-cap fund. Then I have additional geographical diversification with S&P 500, not something that I'm doing any more consistently. I'm actually preferring NASDAQ 100 over S&P 500 for my US investments now. And finally, I have the gold ETF. So those are the top holdings, right? Now, the question that you might ask is, let's say I have a lump sum to invest, or I have an SIP that I want to modify or anything. How do I know what to invest in, right? So I'm not constantly rebalancing my portfolio. I only do that once in 6 months or once in 1 year. I don't make any big changes on my portfolio on a regular basis, but I always follow this system whenever I have to invest an amount. Now, this system is based on my portfolio split, and it's very important to understand that this is not a prescription for portfolio split. It's just a split that I follow. 15% of any investment that I do goes into the Nifty 50 index, 15% into Next 50, 15% into Mid-Cap 150, 15% into the Mid-Cap Mutual Fund, 20% into a small cap actively managed mutual fund, 10% into the US index, and right now I'm preferring NASDAQ 100, 4% into gold, 2% into silver. Now, I've recently added 2 momentum index funds, one for the Nifty large cap momentum index and one for the mid cap momentum index. Now, You can guess which mutual funds these are, but I will also disclose these index funds, the momentum index funds, that I use in another video. So if you're interested to know about momentum funds, because some of these funds have given 60-70% annual returns recently, I'll be happy to make a video on these two. Momentum investing is a slightly different concept, but the money is still going into the large cap and the mid cap companies respectively, and still this is a very small percentage of my portfolio. So I have been, in the process of actually increasing this to around 10%, and maybe someday I will. But for now, I'm starting at a 2+2, which is a 4% of my portfolio into momentum funds. Okay, so that's a total of 100. Now, anytime I have to invest a particular amount, and you can do this as well, you just have to basically put that amount here, right? So if it's 2,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees, it's just going to calculate how you will invest that 20,000 rupees based on this portfolio split. Now, design your portfolio split first, and honestly, if you're investing something like a 2,000 rupees, you may not even need so many funds. You might be just happy with Nifty 50, Next 50, and Midcap 150, for example. Just with these 3 index funds, I think you can build a solid portfolio as well. But since I've come to a position where I've diversified, as the amount and your overall net worth and your overall portfolio grows, you might be inclined to diversify a little bit more, and that's the reason why I have all of these additional funds. But you may not even need that. If you have very small amounts that you're investing, it's better. Slightly concentrated portfolio could get you better results because of the compounding and how it works, and how different funds and different index will have different expense ratios and different fund houses and different management styles. So you could be benefiting from keeping things simple at a lower amount. So I'm investing, often I'm doing a 10 lakh lump sum investment, for example. In that case, this is very useful for me to be able to break it down into this percentage, right? So what's the goal? Now let's go to the goal. Okay, so we're going to do this calculation together, and then I'm going to leave the link of the sheet so you can download this and do your own calculations as well. But let's say what's going to happen from now, right? So let's start now. The initial investment is basically at any given moment, if you open your holdings and see your present value, that becomes your initial investment, because you are always compounding on top of that. So this is around 3.29 crore rupees. So we're going to put that here. This was 2.7 crores. So now I'm going to change it to 3.9. Okay. So 3.9 CR, let's close these. 3.29, sorry, 3.29. See, 1, 2, 3, 0, 0, 0, 0. I think I made a mistake. Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 0, 0. Yep, now it's correct. So 3.29 crores, right? So that's the amount that our initial investment is, which is as of right now. Now the SIPs that I'm running on a monthly basis is around 2 lakh rupees. I will step these up, but for now I'm just going to consider the 2 lakh rupees. So that's the SIP amount. Okay. The rate of return, I've assumed 15% for now. Currently my XIRR is 23.11%. It is not going to stay like that. It might even go down. You can even consider something like a 12%, which is essentially what the stock market returns. So even with this fancy system, if I'm still going to get the stock market returns, which I think I will because of my boring portfolio, I'm just going to put it at 12%. I do expect this to increase to 15% as different ways of investing I'm exploring, for example, momentum funds and so forth. And I also think that India consistently is going to grow even faster as an economy. But a lot of people have said 12% is like extremely safe. So we're going to go really, really safe first. Okay. So then we're going to change and bump up the calculation as well. Now there are two calculations here. One is the return of initial investment. This is the return of just this initial investment amount, which is 3.29 crore rupees. So this becomes 55.93 crores. And this is the return of the SIP, the 2 lakh rupees that we are investing in the SIP. So this becomes 37.57 crore rupees. Okay. So let's just open Coin as well and see what the SIP amount currently is. Okay, so currently I'm doing 2.15 lakh rupees. So let's just upgrade it. I have stepped up a few SIPs. So that's 2,15,000. So not much of a difference, makes a difference. So that's 40.39 crore rupees. So now this total wealth at the end of 25 years, I actually have more time than that. Let's put 30 years. At the end of 30 years is around 173 crore rupees. So this is the amount that I can expect in 30 years of now. And that's the total wealth that I'll end up with. But in the next 5 years, this is what it'll become. In the next 10 years, this is what it'll become. 15 years, this is what it'll become. 20 years and 25 years. So this is the exact calculation that I shared in my video of why net worth explodes after 1 crore. And I think if you haven't watched that video, really important video, watch that. And I think a lot of people were confused about the calculation. So I think this calculator is going to help all of you guys. Once you put your amounts, you can also try playing with the timelines, because this is where like the magic happens. So age reveal, because this was another question that a lot of people have asked. I am currently 33 years old, and in November this year, my birthday is on 25th of November. So in November, I'm going to turn 33. So I'm calculating this based 34, sorry. So I'll be turning 34. So I'm calculating this as 35, which is when I will be, let's take 30. So this is when I'll be 64 years. I will have 173 crores. If I change this to 36, I'll be 70 years old and I'll have 350 crores. So that's really like the magic of compounding. Just adding a few more years will change the game. If I change this to 14% and change this to 30 years, then this becomes, wow, 285 crores. If I change this to 25 years, bring it down, that becomes 145 crores. So that's how magical compounding is, right? So as you can see, 25 years is 145. If you just wait 5 more years, which I can, hopefully, it's going to be 285. If I just wait 5 more years, so this is when I'm almost touching 70, I will have 561 crores of wealth. So this is the calculator I'm going to show with you. You can play around with the goals based on your own requirements. And then the system is really where the magic happens, because this is your consistent, disciplined investing practice. So whenever you have to go and invest an amount, you just put the amount right here, and it's going to show you what kind of calculations to use. Now again, this is not a prescription. Make your own portfolio split first. This is just to give you an idea that having a simple goal calculator and a system in place with a consistent habit of keeping execution on the system will get you whatever results you desire. So that's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.